Mom writes note on son's homework, has no idea who teacher is. She races into the room, grabs his homework diary from his hands and storms into the kitchen. She takes a pen and writes a note to his teacher, pushing down on the paper so hard, it nearly rips. She is livid as she writes that he will not be taking part in this in any sort of way. She slams the pen down. What did they do? It was another day full of routine for Tara Callie. As a mother, a wife, and a full-time employee, she struggled with work-life balance on the best of days. But regardless of how busy she got, she would always make sure to be available if her son needed help with his homework. Tara wanted her son to be taught all that he could at school. But there was a clear line between appropriate and inappropriate teachings for Tara. It started off like any other morning. She raced around the kitchen preparing breakfast, her son's lunch and finding his shoes before she packed him up and drove him to school. She waved at him as he waved back walking through the school doors. Now, she continued her drive to work, smiling as she took in the sunshine and blue skies. It was a day of stark contrast to her impending rage. Later, she collects her son from school and asks him about his day. He smiles as he tells her about playing with his friends and learning lots and lots and lots of new things. Tara listens enthusiastically. Then he says something Tara didn't quite understand. She looked at him inquisitive. "Are you speaking gibberish now?" She laughs. But it wasn't gibberish, he was saying something she couldn't fathom. After they got home, Tara prepared dinner and they all sat down to eat. She was speaking to her husband about his day when her son started speaking gibberish again. She laughed as she told her husband that apparently, this is what they teach kids nowadays. Then she turned to her proud-looking son and told him to stop messing. But he wasn't messing. He was saying exactly what he learned today. Suddenly, his chin fell. He was disappointed they weren't acknowledging his good memory and new skill. He quietly ate the rest of his food and waited until he was allowed to leave the table and go to the living room to do his homework. Tara cleaned up as her son tended to his homework in the next room. And then she heard it. The noise that would throw her into a fit of rage. She raced into her son and grabbed his phone out of his hands. "What is this?" she asked. Confused, he answered. "Where did you get this? Who showed this to you?" she pressed. He answered. She was seeing red. She didn't understand what his teacher was thinking. Does she know what age he is? This is absolutely sickening, she spits, a complete disgrace. Now it all makes sense. The words her son was speaking earlier weren't gibberish at all. He was saying something that hit the core of her ignorance. She was never exposed to this kind of thing. She looks at her son, who is now distressed as he feels he did something wrong. She quickly reassures him that it's not his fault and he didn't do anything wrong, but his teacher, on the other hand, will pay. She closes the page open on her son's phone, grabs his homework diary and storms into the kitchen. She grabs a pen and writes a note to his teacher, pushing down on the paper so hard, it nearly rips. She is livid as she writes that he will not be taking part in this in any sort of way. She calls the teacher out for being a bad teacher, and if she has a problem with it, call her lawyer. She went to bed angry, posting the note on Facebook to vent her anger. It was completely inappropriate and she wanted to make sure everybody knew. She told her son exactly what to do when he handed the teacher his homework note the next day, and she couldn't wait for karma to get her, but karma had a different target in mind. The teacher was dumbfounded at Tara's response to her son's homework and took it up with the school board. She then asked Tara's son why he refused to do the homework, and he let them know that his mother told him not to. Why would she do that? What was he saying and how did it relate to his homework? Why all this uproar? Tara's son was given the homework of listening to some Muslim prayers through a QR code printed on his homework diary. That day they had learned a bit about Islamic prayer and beliefs. It was a day of world religion teachings, as the teacher and school felt it was important to educate kids on the different religions of the world to enlighten any religious ignorance. But this wasn't how Tara saw it. Tara considered this an indoctrinate into the religion, and resented the idea that her son be taught anything other than Christianity. She proved her point by quoting several Bible verses at the end of her note. But now that the teacher was equipped with all the facts of the matter, she was ready to set Tara straight, but she wasn't the only one. Remember that Facebook post? It took off and created a heated debate online about what should and shouldn't be taught in schools. Some users shamed Tara for her views, saying, "I am a teacher and completely agree that this should be taught as a part of world history curriculum. And that QR code is an awesome, interactive idea. I actually love this assignment." But others disagreed. Another user said, "7th graders do not, nor never had, world history. First, they need to learn Jefferson, Madison, and Hamilton. So, no. Don't try to tell me that this should be a part of their studies." Tara had to create a new Facebook page after the fiery debate, but the fight continues as she is dead set on holding her ground as a proud Christian.